Hi friends and family, we're back in the kitchen. We're going to do another recipe from the playlist for the holiday meal menu, okay? So today we're going to do a traditional dish, like we've had this at every Christmas dinner, every Thanksgiving dinner. Not always like this because I'm going to make this from scratch, but we're going to make green bean casserole from scratch. So you're going to love it. Stick with me. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. That really helps me get motivated to do more of these. It is October still, so I'm trying to get all these holiday menu items in the menu playlist in case you need help with your holiday dinner. If you're cooking for the first time, or if you're part of my family and you need these recipes because you don't know how to make them, here we go. Okay, let's get started. So here's what we're going to need for fresh green beans. We've got our salt and pepper in the back. We've got our chopped mushrooms, fresh mushrooms. We have our blanched green beans. We have chopped onions. That's a small onion. We have some fried onions in the back. A little bit of nutmeg. We have breadcrumbs. I use seasoned breadcrumbs. Chicken broth. We have some butter, real butter. Don't use margarine. Just a couple utensils. We have some garlic. I'm not using fresh garlic. I'm just going to take it out of the can or the jar. And we have some half and half, couple measuring cups. And we are going to need just a little bit of flour. All right. So there's our ingredients. If you don't know how to blanch green beans, I did this yesterday. So I did it the day before and put them in the refrigerator. Go to my recording, my video on how to blanch fresh green beans. It's an excellent video. It'll show you exactly what to do step by step. And that's how I got this bowl of green beans right there. That is probably between 1.5 pounds. That might be 2 pounds, probably more like 1.5 pounds, close to 2 pounds. Anyway, somewhere like that. All right, there we go. Let's get started. All right, so let's get started. The first thing I want to do before anything else is I want to talk about mushrooms when you're dealing with fresh mushrooms. So I usually buy the brown mushrooms, whatever those are. I don't usually buy the white button, although you can, no problem. And usually they say don't put them in water, don't put them under running water. I don't have the patience for that, so these go under running water. I wash them real well. And as you can see, you might get mushrooms that have some coloring on them like that. If that bothers you, then I would just take my fingernail and scrape those off the back of a spoon, get a knife if you don't like that coloring and get that off. It doesn't bother me at all, so I'm going to leave it like this. I know I've cleaned it. Now I also don't use the core, so I will just wiggle it from one side to the other, and that core should pop out. This I'll use for stock, or most often I would just put this in the bin for my neighbor's chickens, okay? So that goes to the chickens. Now in this case, I've already got them all chopped up, but all I did was cut it 3 times across, and then I'm just making medium-ish chops. And when I buy mushrooms, I don't buy real large ones. I don't buy the really small ones. The medium size, everything, squash, zucchini, whatever. Medium size seems to have the best flavor. So I always try to go for the medium size. Okay, so that's mushrooms, just in case you haven't worked with fresh mushrooms before. Okay, let's get started. So I'm using a cast iron pan. It's kind of a big one, kind of a good size. I'm on medium-high heat right now, and I've put 2 pads or 2 tablespoons of butter, real butter. So we never want to cook with margarine because margarine is fake butter, so we don't want to do that. So let's not do that. Okay, so let's set our butter to the side. We want to get that melted. And then, now, if you've ever watched my video on country gravy and biscuits, you're going to see a lot of similarities here because the base is really the same. We're going to make basically a mushroom gravy. That's kind of what this is. And if you didn't want to do this part, of course you could use canned cream of mushroom soup. I'm not doing that this time because I thought I would show you how to make it the real way. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, that's almost melted. So first thing we're going to do is, let's get a little spoon. We're going to put in our onions. So these are chopped onions, not very big. You can see. So if I were making tacos or burritos, this would be about the size I would make to put on our tacos and burritos. So it's a small chop. Okay, get those in your skillet. I like my wooden spoon for this. So now I'm just going to mix it around, get that butter all incorporated, and just to help it loosen up a little bit, I'm just going to put a little bit of salt on my onions. That'll help them soften up, release their juices, and start to get some color on them. Okay, so this is going to take a few minutes. So we'll just keep this going 3 minutes, 4 minutes, until these are soft, translucent. You could stick a fork through them. They're pretty soft. They might even get a little bit of color, which I wouldn't mind, but you don't have to go that far. Okay, so let's give this a few minutes and then we'll come back and we will add the rest. Okay, it's been a few minutes. So I want you to see what this is looking like. Now the bottom of my skillet is getting a little bit of color, which it usually does, so don't worry about that. That'll deglaze and that'll all turn into flavor in a little while. Alright, so if you see the onions, they're translucent. We stick a fork in them, they're soft. Okay, so this is what we want it to look like. I did turn my heat down to medium now, because pretty soon we're going to be adding liquid. We'll be making a gravy out of this, so I don't want it on high heat. Okay, so here we have, I don't know how many mushrooms that is. That's probably 2 cups of mushrooms chopped. Okay, we're going to put that in, put them all in. And now we're going to do the same thing. Mix it through. As these mushrooms cook, they're going to release their juices. And we're just going to keep going, and they'll reduce down. So the size of this will get much smaller. Now in my family, we like mushrooms. And sauteed mushrooms in butter that's like a whole nother world. That is so good. And we love it if we're having meat at all, we will make this and put it over the top of our baked potato or our mashed potatoes or even over our steak. And it's just like a steakhouse. This is just so good. So these mushrooms are going to get nice and brown. They're going to shrink down. It's just going to be heavenly. But if you're making this for your family or you're doing this for a holiday meal, and the people that you are going to be cooking for maybe aren't used to fresh mushrooms, they're used to cream of mushroom soup, then you might want to chop these even smaller so that they're not so obvious, right? We're always trying to hide the good stuff for people that aren't used to it. So this is no different. Okay, this is going to take another 3 or 4 minutes probably to get all the way down there. I'm going to go about another minute, and then I am going to add 2 tablespoons of garlic. You might want to add 1. See how you like it, see how it smells, see if it feels like that's too much. If you're a garlic lover, go ahead and put the 2 in. And you can see this is starting to get dry. But those mushrooms are going to release. If it feels like your bottom of your skillet is getting too hot or too brown, turn your heat down a little bit and let your skillet catch up to the heat you really want it. Now I have an old stove and I love this stove. I do not want to get rid of it, so I'm really fighting it. But it's electric, so it's hard to control the temperature sometimes. You may not have that problem, but If it starts to look like it's getting too brown on the bottom, which this absolutely is not too brown, can you see that? That is not a problem at all. What I will do is just take it off the heat a little bit, let my skillet cool down a little bit, push everything to one side, just get things a little bit cooled off, put it back on. If my skillet seems to be getting hot in one place too much, which it's pretty even all the way around the burner on this one, I would just turn my skillet a little bit. Right, so just little tricks. And I had a jumper, mushroom. Okay, so now let's get some garlic in here. I'm just using garlic out of a jar. Now garlic will burn, so I'm just going to leave it right on top there for a little while until I need to move it around. As soon as it hits the bottom of that hot skillet, there's a chance it could burn, so we want it to move around real fast. So I'm just going to leave it sitting on top of those mushrooms, letting it get all nice and steamy and hot while we're still moving our mushrooms. Now you can see over here, we're starting to get water, or we're starting to get the mushroom juice in our skillet. Can you see that liquid reducing? Okay, so now we're kind of getting a steaming effect. Okay, so those are getting softer, smaller, and we're getting some liquid. Okay, and my garlic is just still sitting here on top, being a good boy. So what we're going to do now is this will probably cook another at least 2 or 3 minutes, maybe a little longer. And then we're going to start making the gravy. So like I said, go watch the video on country gravy and biscuits, and it'll give you a really good idea of how this is just a base recipe for any kind of gravy. Right here, we could call this mushroom gravy, mushroom soup, whatever you want to do. It's made the same way, okay? Very close to the same way. Same basic process. Okay? So we're still moving everything around. Still got some juices coming out. You can see that these mushrooms are already much smaller than they were just a minute ago. Okay? If we're getting ready for the next move, our next move is we are going to put flour over the top of this whole mixture. That's what's going to thicken our gravy. The important thing about doing that as part of a gravy, a roux, we're making a roux is what that is we have to cook that flour off our food. And that takes at least a minute, maybe 2 minutes. Keep it moving around, and that is going to thicken our sauce. But if we don't cook that flour long enough and we add the liquid too soon, it's going to taste like raw flour. So you're going to know later that you jumped the gun on that, which we don't want to do. Okay? So I'm still waiting to see this get even smaller, softer. So we're not quite there yet. Okay, so I'm going to bring my flour closer to me. And I'm just using regular all-purpose flour. Although I would use whatever flour I had. If I had gluten-free flour, I'd use it. I've used arrowroot, that'll thicken. Some people might just use a slurry instead of doing the flour, but I've been making gravy so long that flour is the go-to to make a roux for me. Okay. So again, out of 10, right, my oven, my electric oven, my stovetop goes from 1 to 10, and I'm on a number 7. So I'm not high, maybe a little medium high, a little more than that. But once we put the liquid in here, these mushrooms aren't going to do anything else. So I want the mushrooms to be beautiful before I move to the next step. Okay? So we're just going to let that go. And I need to drink a tea, which I made earlier for this strenuous cooking day. Love sweet tea. Right. Okay, you can see this right before your eyes changing. You can see the liquid from the mushroom. Maybe if I hold it up, we can see the liquid coming down. See all that nice brown liquid? Okay, that's from those brown mushrooms. So just keep going. I'm not happy with it yet. I want them smaller, browner. So I'm going to go at least another minute. It'll still keep cooking once I get the flour on there, but I want it to look pretty good before I get my flour on. And I hope you're not getting steamed out in the camera, but I don't have my fan on because it's too loud when I'm cooking. So my fan is not on, which is right over here on the side. So it can be loud. Okay, and you can see the bottom of the pan. We've still got the brown bits, right, that we could keep scraping because we've got liquid in the pan now. This is actually how we clean our pan at the end. Put some, if you've got some liquid left in there, just scrape all that off. If your skillet gets really dark, like maybe you burn something, just get it hot again. Get some hot liquid in there. Even from your tea kettle, get some hot liquid and just scrape all that up. Right now it's all flavor, so there's nothing burnt on the bottom of my pan, and I'm just keeping everything moving around. Now if you're a mushroom lover, if you like sauteed mushrooms and onions, this is looking really good to you right now. This would be so good, just like this, over the top of a steak, on a baked potato. This is like heaven. This is so good. And we're starting to get the smell of everything now coming together. The garlic, the mushroom, the onion. And when I'm doing mushrooms and onions, I'm always using butter. I saute in butter. I don't use any other fat, although I probably could. I probably could use my saved bacon grease, if that's what I had. But something about the butter just makes it super good. Look at that. That is beautiful. All right, let's just take our fork, poke through. That's pretty soft. Oops, if it doesn't skip around. Pretty soft. I'm still gonna go just a second more. Now you can see my liquid is starting to evaporate. It's going away, which is going to be fine. That's going to make my roux. Now I tend to put more flour than maybe other people put in my roux because I like a thick gravy. And I always say the thicker the roux, the thicker the gravy. Okay, we're just about there. Okay, see all that? Beautiful. I hope you guys get a good sight of that. So we can't even really see our onions. They're chopped so small. They're just hidden in there. You could definitely see our mushrooms. So like I said, if you're doing this for the first time, you don't know if your family, how they feel about mushrooms, you might want to cut these up even smaller, and then they'll be really hard to see. Okay, I'm liking this, so I'm going to start with my flour. So my flour scoop is like a little Japanese spoon because I just like that. So I'm going to spread it over all of my mushrooms. Gets a good coating. Okay, so that was it. That was probably 2 tablespoons. So now here's the part that you can't miss. You have to cook this flour down. And the only way to do that is to just move it around in that skillet, let it get nice and hot. If I see any white parts, then I know that that's not cooked down yet. Move the stuff on the sides to the middle. All right, I'm just going to keep moving it around. I just shake everything to keep everything flat in my skillet. don't want a big pile up in the middle because that's not cooking, that's steaming, which is fine too. Okay, if you have to set a timer to make sure you do this for at least a minute, preferably 2 minutes if you're not burning. Now you can see the bottom of my skillet's getting a little bit darker there. That's all going to come up as soon as I add the liquid. So right now, I'm going to take part of my skillet and move it off that hot spot. My skillet is still hot, so it's still cooking, even though part of it, this part right here where it has the dark, is off my burner now. Okay, so I'm letting that cool for a second. This side of my skillet is still over a burner. See, and you can hear it. It has calmed down. Right? There's no liquid in here anymore. All right. So that flour has made like a paste over all those mushrooms and onions. So it's going to look pasty. That's okay. Keep going. But when you're at this part, if you did watch my other video on the country gravy, you need to keep stuff moving because you don't want it to burn. You don't want anything to stick. Okay. I'm going to turn it down one more notch. I'm now at 6.5. Okay. That's probably been long enough. Look at that nice color on the bottom. That's going to be so much flavor. It's not burnt yet, so we're not worried. So don't worry. Nothing to worry about yet. Okay. We're back on. So I'm going to get rid of my flour. Okay. Now it's calling for chicken broth. If you had homemade broth, you could use it here. I wouldn't because I tend to keep my homemade broth for soups, which I really appreciate a good broth. Okay, I'm just going to start out with 1 cup because we are going to be adding cream to this as well. So here we go. Okay. All right, here we go. So now what we're looking for, we're going to scrape that stuff off the bottom of the skillet. And we are looking for this to turn into kind of a gravy. It's going to be thick. Okay? Or we want it thick. It'll definitely, you can see here, I move my spoon, see how it kind of comes back like that? It's not totally liquid. You can see that it's thickening up. Takes a while for that to come back to the beginning, or to the where we started. So right now I'm scraping all of that stuff off the bottom of the skillet. And because we're keeping this moving around, and because we put that flour in there so we have a consistency of a gravy, everything I scrape off the bottom and keep moving around that skillet is gonna get incorporated into the gravy. Because as this thickens, everything inside that gravy is going to be distributed evenly throughout the whole gravy. Okay? So this is our sauce. Now you can see how thick that's getting. Okay? And you can see the bottom of my skillet is now clean. Okay? So all that flavor went back into the gravy. Or into the sauce, whatever you guys want to call it. Okay. Now, just keep that going. We're at a simmer. Just let it go for a minute. Okay. Doesn't that look beautiful? Now, if you stopped right here, this would also be excellent over a steak or over any kind of potato. Now we're going with some half and half. Or if you have cream, go for the cream. All right. So I'm just going to start with 1 cup. Now how I always do gravy is I add my liquid in phases. I don't add everything in at once because I want to see how thick it gets. If I pour it all in at once, then I'm concerned that it might get thinner than I want. And if it's too liquidy or too thin, you know, what are you going to do to thicken it up? Not much. You can't put more flour in, don't do that. You could keep cooking it, keep simmering it down, and it will get a little thicker. It'll get thicker. And when you're done cooking it and you let it sit out, it'll also get thicker. But it may not be as thick as you want. So as you can see, look at that. Isn't that like cream of mushroom soup, except you never see the mushrooms? This is so much more healthy for you. We know exactly what's in this. Okay, now you see how it's getting thick again? Just swipe that across the bottom, and it takes a while to come back in. That just means thickness and getting thick. As it gets thick, right, and we want to keep this moving around the whole time. We don't want to walk away. If we do, just do it for a second and come right back and start moving this around again. Okay. See, it's taking longer and longer and longer to come back together again, so it's getting thicker. So I'm going to add some more cream. A little bit at a time. So I've put in about a half a cup now. Okay. We have a couple more ingredients to add that we haven't put in here yet. One, pepper. We'll check it for salt. Remember, we didn't use cream of mushroom soup, so we don't have all of that sodium from the canned soup. So we will check our salt in a minute. Okay, we just want to let this simmer. Keep going. It helps if you sway back and forth. Right, that's just a pro tip. Not a pro tip. I'm not a pro, but that's what I do at my house. I just sway back and forth. It's kind of a meditation. And then you can also see, oops, getting thick again. There it is, we're getting thick. See how that comes apart? It takes a minute to come back together. Okay, that's thick. Okay, I'm gonna get my little tasting bowl out. Okay, I'm not ready yet though. Every time I put more cream in here, put more stock in here, whatever, it's gonna change the taste of this, right? So, I'm not gonna taste it yet. But I am gonna go ahead and add my pepper because I haven't added any. So I'm just putting in a little bit. This is like a quarter of a teaspoon of pepper. That's all I'm gonna put right now because I want to get that mixed in. Okay, you see how beautiful that is looking? That is gorgeous. Okay, let's see how thick it is. It's getting thickened up again. And we just keep going through this process over and over and over until it's thick enough, and then we would stop and put it on the back burner and let it thicken up a little bit before we move on. Or keep adding liquid if it's too thick, or if we want to, you know, keep going. You could keep going like a couple tablespoons at a time of your cream or your liquid, and just keep waiting it out, waiting for it to cook down, thicken up, add a little more liquid. We could keep doing that. Okay. Oops. See how thick that is? Now it may look thick from overhead, so let me get this spoon. Let me just get broth. See if I can just get broth. I don't know if you guys can see that. but it's still very liquid. Okay, we want to keep, now it's starting to stick to the bottom of the pan a little bit, so maybe I'm not moving as much as I should be. So let me keep scraping that back into our sauce. No matter when it gets brown, scrape it back in. It's just more flavor, so keep going. Okay, just gonna keep simmering. We're not there yet, but I do like it. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit into my little tasting bowl because it's too hot to try right now. So I just want to see what that's tasting like. The more milk we put in, the more broth we put in, right, it's going to keep getting diluted. We need to keep cooking it down, concentrating it, and then adding more. So we don't want to lose our flavor, but we want to keep it thick. So over here on the sideline waiting is, of course, our blanched green beans. We would not put fresh green beans in this because they would never cook. Not in the time frame I would want them. So, well, and you know something else which I forgot when I'm doing it right now is let's preheat our oven to 375 because these will go into the oven. All right, see how thick that is? It's taking a long time to come back together. All right, I'm gonna add some more cream. Well, no, first, let me taste this. Okay, first thing I'm noticing is that is too thick to pour into my mouth. Oh my goodness. Oh my God, that's so good. Woo! Oh my gosh, I wish I had a steak right now. Okay, that is super good. I'm gonna put a little bit more cream, or half and half in. Go through the process again. Okay, so if you've got anything on the bottom of the skillet that needs to be scraped up, you've got that liquid in there that cooled everything down. That'll give you a minute to scrape. Oh my gosh, that was so good. Yeah, so keep this in mind. If you just stopped right here before you added your green beans or anything, went any further, you would have a fantastic topping for your steak or for your potatoes. You could put this in containers, which I guarantee before the holidays, it's still October, right? So we still got another month before Thanksgiving. I will make this again, probably in a bigger batch, and I'll put some away in the freezer so that I have ready gravy when I want, and I don't have to go through this process again when I want to cook. I'll just have it in a safe container, which I do not store things usually in the freezer in plastic. I don't put hot food or hot drinks in anything plastic because, you know, those chemicals could leach out into your food. In fact, they say that it's definitely happening, so I don't do that. And my family, if it's in plastic and they see it in the freezer and they want to eat it, they will pop that into the microwave. Me, I'll put it in something else. But because I know that they won't do it, I put everything usually in aluminum pans, or I'll put it in glass for that reason only. Okay. So, no hot food, no hot drinks in plastic containers. If you can at all avoid it, right? We live in a time where not everything is done for health, so any little tiny things we can do to help ourselves, that's probably good. Okay, let's check our thickness. Yeah, see, we're still getting thick. Okay, So I did put more cream in there. Here's the very last of my cream. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Let's do that. So that was 1 full cup of, half and half actually, or you could use cream, whichever one you like. And it was 1 full cup of chicken broth. Okay. And we don't have to be exact. We can make our gravy. These green beans over here on the side, so I think I showed you already. It's a pretty big bowl. That's probably close to 2 pounds. I'm going to put it in stages so that if it's too thick with all the green beans, I don't put too many in. So I'll put those in phases as well when it comes time to do that. So that we don't, we definitely want a sauce in there. We don't want everything just absorbed and we have too many green beans. We don't want that either. So that we will phase in as well. So if you want to make this, maybe for your freezer, batch cook it, just double or triple that. Put 3 cans of broth, 3 cans of cream, double up. Make sure you put a lot of, in that case, I would definitely make sure I have plenty of flour in with my mixture of onions and mushrooms. And it's going to take longer in a big old pot like that, but oh my gosh, it's good. It would be so worth it. So worth it. And I do a lot of stuff like this. I batch cook and I put stuff in the freezer. And that's just how I like to cook. All right. Take some more of this sauce. Put it into my little thing. Let that cool on the side for a minute. Okay. We haven't done anything with our temperature. We are still on 6.5. And you can see we got a good boil going, not a hard boil, but we've got a good simmer going here. Remember, we do have dairy in here, so we don't want to bring it to a boil to where we scorch the milk or anything like that. So have a little bit of patience. Making gravy does take a few minutes because of this step right here. Okay, let me try this gravy again. Here's my spoon. That's good, but we're going to add a little bit more salt at this point. So that was like a quarter, and let's add another quarter or eighth of pepper. Okay. Ooh, I can smell that pepper. Went right up my nose. I can't say that I'm mad about that. Smell really good. All right. So here we are. We're still going. Now, if you want, this is optional, but does taste pretty good. Add a little bit of nutmeg, and I mean a little bit. So we're going to have, let's see, we're going to start with, let me do it over something in case I get too much. Okay. We're going to put a quarter of a teaspoon of nutmeg in there. Okay. Just let that get mixed in. Ooh, I can smell it. Oh, that's nice. Okay. Okay, so let's just let that get good and incorporated. We're almost to the end, everybody. All right. Let's let that nutmeg get in there nice and good, get that salt dissolved, and then we're going to taste it again. Let me rinse my little bowl out. Okay. Wish I had a big old piece of potato right there to taste it on. Oh, that reminds me, I have leftover hash browns from this morning. Country hash browns. Okay. If I have any extra, I know what I'm going to have for lunch. Okay. See how thick it is? Look how long it takes that to come back together, right? That's thick. That's pretty thick. Okay. Now, if we let it go too far and we are too thick, look at that. That's nice and thick. Okay, let's get our taste. Okay, I want more sauce than anything else because that's what I'm really trying to taste. Okay, let's keep this moving. I don't know, that's pretty thick. I'm almost thinking I might want to add some more broth. Let me see what this tastes like first. Oh my goodness, I love it. You get the hint of that nutmeg in there, which just gives it a nice little off flavor. It's really very nice. Okay. I wouldn't go crazy on the nutmeg though. I can definitely smell it and taste it, but it's perfect. Look how nice and thick that is. But because that is thickening up so well, and we're still going, I'm just going to put a little bit more chicken broth in there. I do have more half and half, but I'm just going to use the chicken broth. And if you make this more than once, you can try different things. Sometimes, you know, it's more of the cream than the broth. Now here I've done it half and half, half broth, half and half. But you could have done this with all broth, but it wouldn't have looked creamy like this. The cream made that, the half and half made that really look nice like that. Look how thick that is. Look how long it takes that to cover up. That's thick. Very nice. Okay. Always taste your food. Let's let that cool for a second. See if we need more salt and pepper or anything. Okay, let's try this again. Oh my gosh, that's so good. Oh, you guys gotta try this. Please try this. You're gonna love it. Now, I think the nutmeg is a little bit different than... If I were doing this again, I would either put half of that amount of nutmeg in or I would skip it all together because it does stand out, even that little bit. And although I like it, I wonder if I would like it better if I had omitted it. And I think next time I do this, I'll remember that you don't really need the nutmeg. So I would probably skip it. Now let me go back and think. Salt, pepper. It was okay with salt. I'm just going to add a little bit more just because why not? It's not too salty. I can't taste the salt, which is why I'm thinking, why not add some more? Look how thick that is, everybody. Oh my goodness, it just keeps cooking down and getting more flavorful and flavorful. Okay, again, I'm going to add a little bit more chicken broth. Why? Why not? Okay, gonna get that all mixed in there. All right, I think we're looking pretty good. Now the reason I added that broth in there at the end is we're still thick for sure. But when I take it off the heat, which I'm doing right now, off the heat, or my heat is off, let's put it that way. Okay, now I'm gonna set this off to my cool burner. Okay, and I'm just gonna let that thicken up even more as we get ready for next steps. Okay, I'm gonna clean up here for a second, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna take the next step. At this point, our sauce is finished. It's done. And we're just keeping it there on the back while we get other things together. There you can see it's nice and thick. You can see the mushrooms. Looks delicious. Okay, now we're going to make the topping. So we're going to put about a cup of the fried onions in a bowl. We're going to also add, if you want it a little crispier, you can add some either panko or breadcrumbs. That's only about a quarter of a cup. And then we're going to crush that up a little bit just to get it more crushed in. And we're going to add a couple tablespoons of melted butter. We're just going to mix that in thoroughly to make our topping. And once we get that mixed in good, just takes a minute, then we're just going to set that aside. That's what it looks like there. And then we're going to start adding our green beans, a few scoops at a time. We want to avoid getting too many green beans in. We don't want to get it so thick that we don't have the richness of the sauce. We don't want to get the sauce and the ratio for the green beans out of proportion to where we just have a little bit of sauce on the green beans. We do want the green beans covered in the sauce, a real nice amount. And so just mix it into the sauce, the cream of mushroom, until it's the consistency that you like. And I'll just keep doing that, a scoop or two at a time, just getting it mixed in. I'm not cooking this any longer. The stove has been turned off. We're getting close to having enough green beans in there. So we're just going to add it. Keep mixing it up. There's an overview. And that's how thick it is. I think I like that consistency. I probably wouldn't go more green beans, although I do have some left on the side. And that'll be great for later for dipping in ranch dressing. Okay. So now we're going to get our containers. I'm going to put these in 2 separate containers so that I have one for tonight and one for next week's dinner for a side dish. So I'm just going to evenly scoop them into 2 different containers. I am using aluminum containers. I never use, I try to never use plastic when I have hot food or hot drink, because that is not very healthy. So I am using aluminum. And that way when I'm ready to heat them back up, I can either stick them in the air fryer or stick them in the oven to get them ready for dinner. Okay, and there we go. So we've got just about all of it. All right, so it's evenly in those 2 tins, and we put the topping on. So we just sprinkled the topping on, and now we're going to stick them in the oven. So they're going to be in the oven about 15 minutes, 10 minutes, just long enough. It's basically all cooked. We're just getting the tops browned. So there they are. And the tops are nice and golden brown, which... Okay, so we're back. These are done. They are pretty much cooled. Just wanted to show you they did take 15 minutes. I wish I would have checked them a little bit earlier and put some foil over the top sooner, because they're a little bit darker than I would prefer. So if I'd have caught that, 4 or 5 minutes earlier, I think I would have liked it better. Okay, so I'm just going to take a taste of this. Oh, that's good. And although that topping is a little crisper, a little crunchier than I'd like, still pretty good. I love crunchy stuff. Okay, so these 2 are going to go in the freezer. So I'm going to show you how I wrap stuff for the freezer. And this is usually the size that I use. So that's it. It's a 1 to 2 serving size is how I kind of figure this. So I will wrap it in foil. I will put a label. I put a mailing label on the outside where what it is, the date, and how many people it will feed. So on this, I will put 1 to 2 servings, and that way I can just use it as a side dish for a dinner. But let me show you how I do these. Let me get rid of this. Okay. So foil. So I just take and I put a piece of foil on the top as kind of a lid. And the reason I do this is because when I go to cook it, whether I put it in the air fryer or put it in the oven or whatever I'm going to do, I want a lid on it. So I'm putting the lid on first because this will be the lid I use when I cook it. But to freeze it, this is how I do it. I kind of wrap it like a present. So one big piece of foil, put that in the middle. I bring both ends up, just like a present, right? And then I fold it under. I just keep folding it, till it's all the way down. I bring the sides in, just like a present. I crimp it around the outsides. Get it nice and tight. So technically it has 2 lids on it. And that's what it looks like. So it's all covered, all sides. And then on the side, I will flatten that out and I will put a mailing label with what the dish is, the date that I made it, and how many people it will serve, okay? So I use this side, this would be one side dish for dinner. Or if I were making individual freezer meals, like so we could have whatever we want, then I would put, 1 serving, chicken and potatoes or turkey and stuffing, whatever, so that we knew that, okay, one person could eat this for one meal. Okay, so I will continue that. I will do the next one, and that's it. So that's it for this time. Green bean casserole from scratch, made with fresh green beans, or fresh blanched green beans. And again, if you want to see how to make those green beans, I do have it recorded. It's in the on my channel, Leah's Simple Kitchen. So go check it out. Check out the playlist for the holiday menu items if you need help making anything. And I guess that's it for now. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That helps me out. All right. We'll see you next time. Happy holidays.